All right, let's head out to that studio in the sky where we have somebody fresh off Route 66, Connor Wilson, otherwise known as Mellow Connor. How you doing today,
Phew.
sir?
Oh, we're doing good, Jason. Thanks for having me on the show.
Well, I
Stoked to
appreciate
be
you
here.
taking the time to come out and join us here today. And the lead is that you just got done. My understanding is got done doing Route 66 or a part of it, and you kind of lived in your car, and it's a small little Miata. So it sounds like you wanted to really make sure you got this in as a bucket item list or something like that. So talk to me about your trip.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so the trip was actually just kind of a crazy idea I had earlier this year. So my family, we had this old 1995 Miata. He got it for like 2,000 bucks back in the day, and the head gasket blew up on it. And we're thinking about scrapping the car. And instead of doing that, I said, you know what, man? Let's try to bring it back to life. So I didn't have much mechanic skills, but I took that thing apart in the garage. It took me 30 weeks to fix, but it started working again. And I was like, well, shoot, you know what? I've always tried to see the American South. I've never seen the South. I hadn't been to Texas, Louisiana, you name it. I have never been out there. And I said, you know what? It would be a funny adventure is to take the most impractical, small two-seater Japanese convertible sports car that I just rebuilt in my garage across the US. So that's what I did. And along the way, I took a very go with the flow approach to the trip, right? And I just found myself in all sorts of spots. And quite often I found myself on Route 66, which is funny because, you always hear about it. You got the songs, you got the movies, you got it all, and it kind of felt like deja vu when I'd actually be out there.
Now,
But
how old are you?
I'm 27, actually turned 27 on the trip in February.
And All right, so you're 27 and you still at least had some consciousness about Route 66. Is that so you at least heard of it and knew the pop culture of it at least?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I grew up as a car fan. I grew up with the movie Cars, and I know that movie is literally chatting about the interstates taking over the equivalent of Route 66 in real life. The songs and just being a car fan in general, I'd always dream of those old neon signs out in the desert. I dreamt of like the old Cadillac with the top off, just under some old motel lights out there in the long route across the state, or the states, I should say. And well, I tried to go for my own version of it.
Now, where did you start and where did you end?
So as far as Route 66 went, I accidentally found out about the route when I was in San John, I believe it was, in eastern New Mexico. So I just pulled over the road to sleep the night before, and that Miata, the comfort speed limit in that car is 55, 60 miles per hour. And when you're on Interstate 40, the big rigs, everyone's going 70, 80. I was getting passed by everyone. So I tried to dodge that main interstate as much as I could and find routes that were pretty similar. So I first encountered it and I pull off the main freeway, sleep for the night, and I start taking a road, presumably nothing important, that was right next to I-40. And then I passed by this old, what looked to be an auto shop with the iconic Route 66, you know, faded paint job on it. I was like, I'll be darned. Like, am I on Route 66? I looked at my Google Maps and sure enough, I was. And then from that point on, I tried to make as many stops as I could going from eastern New Mexico. And the time I actually ended it was Kingman, Arizona. I believe that's the name of the town. And essentially, what I would do is I would go for any routes that were kind of on, like, I'd say a little bit closer to main arteries because my Miata didn't run the best. So I was like, I can't get too off into the woods here. But luckily, a good amount of the route as you go through kind of like a little bit of that New Mexico area, going to Arizona, a lot of it kind of mirrors the actual, like the big route itself. You just get a bit more of the actual, taste of the land, something real. It's not just an interstate,
Yeah,
right?
I had a interviewed somebody who did the I think it was the Panhandle over to Santa Monica, and that's what they were saying that you do a lot of business districts. You get off the interstate on the business
Mhm.
districts as much as you can, and some of the different side roads. That's an
Yeah.
interesting story you have because you've mentioned the juxtaposition or the dichotomy of a Japanese vehicle and this road trip across America. You could even go a
Yeah.
step further that there's probably not a more iconic American road than Route 66. You know what I mean? To where in Tulsa, the heart and the
Hmm.
capital of Route 66, they're trying to
Hmm.
break records for the most classic cars this year. So if you wanted to,
Interesting.
yeah,
I
you
didn't even know that.
and what's ironic about this is the gentleman I interviewed the other day.
Hmm.
He was just kind of plugging it. I think he might have been a part of it or whatever. He was, from the Tulsa area, so he was
Okay.
plugging some of the events. And this
Hmm.
one came out, of course, because the community's really embraced it, where they're
Hmm.
trying to break the Guinness Book of World Record for the most classic cars to go down one road
Whoa.
within a certain period of time. And it's like 2,400 cars, or it's over 2,000 classic cars. But it didn't dawn on me until he had said the cars had to be basically before 1996.
Oh,
And
I made it. Let's
yeah,
go.
it was like 96 or so. It was like something like that. I think you said 91 was your car.
I'm a 95, so I made it by one
95. So
year.
you
Yeah.
might be in there because I think classic cars are minus 25. So,
Hmm.
really it's 2001. And so if you back it up to 30 years, you're at,
Yeah.
96. And so, yeah, technically you could go contribute and help Tulsa break the world record with Route 66 classic cars. That's May 30th. May 30th. So,
That'd be so awesome.
yeah, I mean, if you got nothing going on and you can afford the trip and this and that, they would love to have you. You could probably drive that Miata down there and you'd stand out like a
Yeah.
sore thumb. But I was
Yeah.
talking to other people too, and when they were mentioning some of their cars, I for me now, keep in mind, I'm 50 years old. So to me, a classic car is like a 1967 Corvette. It's
Yeah.
something closer to a Model T than a
Yeah.
1991 Miata, 95 Miata. I
100%.
don't think of a 1995 Miata as a classic car, but it
Yeah.
is nowadays, and that tells me my age. Um,
But it's funny enough though because I think it's more than that. Because you're right, I don't think of the Miata as being a classic at all. That's why I thought it was funny when I was like, "Well, technically, I make it,"
yeah.
because you're right. Like there's a bit more of an aura to the original classic too. I feel like even if something's 30 years old now, it still has these new digital radios and like all the new features that newer cars have upgraded on. But um, I'll tell you what, I'm putting that in my calendar. I would love to get out there to Tulsa and just check that out. And it's interesting because I saw before going on my journey, I saw it's the 100-year anniversary of Route 66 in general. So I was very pleased just to see like the little, I don't know. I feel like they have things spiced up. I saw cool cars out there. Actually, when I was out in New Mexico, I'd see tons of awesome cars along the road. So I wonder if people are kind of gearing up or if there's a lot of energy around the road this year right now.
Oh yeah, it's already started. So
Mhm.
they've planned this for a while. In 2020, 2022, I forget. Congress actually appointed a Centennial Commission. So it's
Mhm.
actually public law that we celebrate the 100-year anniversary.
Oh
And so,
yeah.
yeah, so each state has like their own party commission. And, in like Oklahoma, they've really invested a lot in sprucing up the road. They passed a neon sign minimum
Mhm.
requirements. So you got if your
Whoa.
neon isn't up to snuff, you're out of here, man. Get off the mother
Dude,
road. And so
oh, that's awesome. Dude,
yeah,
good for them. It's such a cool road.
and April
Yeah.
30th here in well, geez, 7 days. In seven
Mhm.
days from when we're doing the interview is when they're actually doing the starter pistol. And so what the starter pistol means is that Springfield, Missouri, which is the quote unquote birthplace of Route 66, is because that's where
Mhm.
they actually filed it back in the
Yeah.
day. And so
Mhm.
Springfield said, "Oh, hey, we're the birthplace," and then
Yeah, they're
and
the
then and
one.
then
Yeah.
Tulsa built a bunch of giant statues and said, "Well, we're the capital, dang it!" And then so,
Ooh.
somewhere in Texas they went, "Well, we're the midway point. Nobody can take that away from us." And then
Oh yeah.
Arizona makes the claim to fame that if it wasn't for them in the '80s, Route 66 wouldn't even be a thing because this gentleman by the name of Angel, he's got a drive-in in
Yeah.
Seligman, Arizona. I'm sure you drove
Yep.
by it.
I sure did. Yeah.
Yeah, the
That's
guy that
crazy.
owns that, he's the gentleman responsible apparently for bringing back Route 66 to our consciousness because it was decommissioned as a road.
100%.
Yeah, because the interstate came in. And here's something
Mhm.
you probably don't know, Connor, is this is what I found out because I've only been doing this now for a while, and I'm kind of a method journalist, so I'm going all in,
Cool.
learning as much as I can when I
Like it.
do. Yeah, I'm doing my route on June 1st, and I'm going for 75 days. And
Whoa, yeah, that's legit.
yeah, so and I might be sleeping in my vehicle a few nights too, so I'm getting my old town and country van ready, and the seats go
Sweet.
down, so
Oh,
it's kind of a
easy.
little it's like a bedroom in the back, and I travel my
Yeah,
dog, so it's basically so my dog can walk around in the back, and I don't have to stop as much, and gets good
yeah,
gas mileage. But if you
you're
just
set.
want to pull over on the side of the road and sleep, it's much easier to do that than it is to spend $150 a night
Yep.
on lodging. That adds up so fast. Where are you out of then? Where do you call home?
Yeah, I'm actually out of Northern California. I'm out in the foothills up here, kind of
No
up towards
kidding.
Tahoe. Yep. Yeah, what about you?
Minnesota.
Oh yeah,
Minnesota.
not close.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
for
We used
sure.
to back in the day when I did a magazine. We did three magazines up in Northern California. One in Marin County, the other
Sweet.
one in San Mateo, and
Cool.
then the other one it was East Bay. It was with the Oakland newspaper in the
Nice. Yeah.
Danville area. Yeah, and boy, that Marin County, that is
Oh
some
yeah.
wonderful. Sonoma, it's wine country up there, but
Yeah.
man, beautiful country up there. Then you get up into Tahoe and the Mount Shasta area, and that just turns into a whole new level of
It
beauty. And
switches.
yeah, so are you close to Mount Shasta?
No, so I'm actually not. So it's actually funny. I mean, obviously it's a big state, right? So
Yeah.
I'm a 2 hours drive from the Bay, North Bay and
Okay.
everything.
Yep.
And I'm probably three and a half, four from Mount Shasta. It's kind of like a triangle, right? If you're in the Bay, you're right out there on the coast.
Yeah.
I'm pretty far inland, like it doesn't take very long for me to get into Nevada. And then Shasta's just way up in that kind
I
of
see. I got you.
up in that northern corner up
Yep.
there.
Yep. Okay.
Great spots to go. But you know how it is. We live in the States and it's a road trippable. It's not
Oh,
it ain't a few steps away, but it's road trippable. You can make it happen, no problem.
I know after my trips in California, there's nothing like a California salad. Nothing like, oh, are you kidding me? Some of the
Dang, man.
produce they sell right on the side of the road there by in between Sacramento and San Francisco, the city as they call it. Man, that's
You
some
got it
good stuff.
down.
Oh, yeah. Well, I pay attention a little bit. I did spend 1 year in Huntington Beach
Oh, sweet.
back in the 90s. That was last century, so a lot's changed since then. Since
But
but whatever.
man,
So go ahead.
I bet it was chill back then though. I've heard some good things about SoCal, like before it got a little too developed and everything. You're probably living in the
Yeah.
surfer's paradise era.
So when I was down in Huntington Beach, I lived on Brookhurst. So if we crossed the street, we were actually in Newport Beach. But we
Sweet.
spent most of our time at the Newport Pier and down at the
Beautiful.
Newport Beach, and then we'd go down. We'd bike it every Sunday, 2-3 miles. Try to go to Baja area, as close as we can. It's
Oh
not,
yeah.
and then go to some Chicago pizza place, grab pizza, and bike back. That was our
Oh,
Sunday type of a thing. But it was
sounds
great.
nice.
It really was. But what I remember most about Southern California was that from San Diego, Tijuana, where the border is,
Yep.
it was a concrete jungle all the way to Santa Barbara. Just the whole way up,
Oh
man. It was
yeah.
just all one
Oh
big
yeah.
city. Just one
Yeah.
big city, man. Just
It's cute.
take
I could
that
never.
PCH, and it's just still that it's just one big city. And I imagine it's expanded more even. So
It keeps on going. Yeah, it's crazy. As a NorCal guy, right? Everyone's always got that little NorCal's better, SoCal's better kind of deal. But that's one of those things, man. It'd be so hard for me to be with that much, pavement. I like the outdoors. I think that's like one of the biggest allures to the Route 66 and going through the desert is just the fact that, man, it's just open space. It's beautiful. You can look out at pasture, some cattle, some horses, and just take in the open space. I think that's what I love right there. Open
So
space.
one of the aspects I'm doing is that we're going to be doing a live 2 to 3 hour broadcast every day.
Sweet.
With yeah, we'll stop at a place and like in Albuquerque, we're going to do it from the Wheels Museum right off Route 66, and So
Perfect.
we'll have, 2 to 3 hours, say 4 to 6 interviews from different
Yeah.
people telling stories, different locals,
Mhm.
this and that and everything. And so, I'm kind of treating it a little bit like like an old fashioned radio show, if you will, like kind of a
Dig it.
daily
Yeah.
radio show, but it's just going to be about Route 66. It'll be for 75 days. And the part I'm doing, okay, so we're going to be layering in like some national themes, if you will. So like,
Yeah.
let's say we do 4 to 6 segments, right, every day. Um, like 4 of them would be to the
Mhm.
local area, and then 2 of them will be kind of national topics that we'll still talk with the local people, but
Mhm.
talking about pets, for example. I'm traveling with my dog, so
Yeah.
once a week, we're going to make sure we highlight the pet friendly places we just experienced over the last week.
Oh, there
And
you go.
do you understand what I mean? And then kind of like,
Covering
once
all
a week,
bases.
yeah,
Yeah.
once a week we'll do event updates. Once a week we'll do classic cars that we saw and just some highlights of it. And one of the days we're going to do is mental health, because getting
Nice.
out on the
Good
open
for you, man.
road can be terrific with your mental health. I'm at the age now where I need to be really focusing on my mental health, because when this is what's interesting, this is where I think your generation might be like, oh, that's a weird twist. So I was I was a former Sunday school teacher, and
Mhm.
you know was grew up Catholic and all this stuff like that, and so I'm
Mhm.
familiar with the different teachings and this and that. So the banned books from the Bible have always kind of caught my attention a
Oh,
little bit.
yeah.
The ones that were too controversial to make it in.
Mhm.
And so
I
I've
was
always kind
reading
of
up on
liked those a
those.
little bit. Yeah. And so there's one called the Book of Jubilee,
Oh,
and it's
cool.
basically all about time on how to
Okay.
do timing of your life, where you're supposed to let the land rest every 7 years. So it teaches crop
Check that
rotation.
out.
Yeah. And so every 7 years, every 7 days, you're supposed to rest
Hmm.
as a human. Every 7 years, you're supposed to rest your land for a year. And then every 49 years, you're supposed to rest for a year as a human, and that's in
I
the Book of
like that.
Jubilee. So I'm
I
calling
like
this
that.
my, yeah. So I'm like, this is gonna be my trip of Jubilee here. I'm gonna go and take 75 days, work on my Jubilee mental health, because
Yeah,
that
man.
banned book from the Bible told me to. You know what I mean? So
Sometimes all you need is like that reason, though, you know? And it's like, yeah, you're
that,
right,
but
actually.
that's what you did. You're like, you know
Yeah.
what? I'm gonna fix a car, and then I'm gonna get out on the open road. That's what, to me, that is a great example of how you took on, different forms of mental health and overcame it, whether it be the fear of figuring out how to. I still don't know how to fix vehicles. I'm scared to death. Like
Yeah.
I'm under that camp that any twist that I do to a wrench is going to make my vehicle worse. So I
Yeah.
just like, stay away, man. Just
Yeah,
stay
well,
away.
yes.
So, what do you think about that, about the mental health aspect, the open road, trying new things, getting out and doing that types of, to me, that seemed like that was part of your trip a little bit.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, so I would say for me, just getting out of the general comfort zone of society is actually really, really cool. What I mean by that, right, is like where I live, you got always a million amenities, you got everything at arm's reach, and it feels easy, but you're also kind of not forced to, really take in your surroundings much. You can kind of go on, well, how can I say, like incognito mode, just zip zip, you get to learn an environment and there's not a whole lot new to see. So when you hit the road and you see these big, vast desert valleys and stuff, and you kind of take a moment of pause where you're like, this is so different. This is so strange. And finally, I think that like my brain, after, just going through routine for quite a while, I'd left my gig actually before the trip, a little bit before, right? And it was so great just to break the routine, almost slow time down a little bit, right? I mean, those days felt long when you're exploring it. I was in that old car, right? And I wouldn't know if it was gonna, make it the next day or really where I was gonna sleep. But I feel like, I don't know, things felt super real when I was on the trip because I was like, wow, Yeah, I'm scaring
Well,
the
I can
shit here.
imagine too because I've driven. I used to have a Suzuki Samurai. Do you know what
Oh yeah,
that
I
is?
know this.
That's like a little four-cylinder Jeep that just
Yep.
yeah, that runs on rice, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was always the joke with the four-cylinder. And it was great because, for me, I was in college. I had to buy my
Yeah.
own vehicles, I've been working my whole life type of a thing. And this
Hmm.
was a great gateway to the Jeep culture. It was a very inexpensive
Yeah.
way for me to get into that Jeep lifestyle,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And the problem, though, the thing did not go over 55 miles an hour on the interstate. And so
Yeah.
when,
Nope.
when
Nope.
I'd go to Timberwolves games and Vikings games back and
Yep.
forth from Minneapolis, oh, are you kidding me? Talk about mental health. You got to learn to be
Yeah.
okay with yourself when people are flipping you off because you're only going 50 miles an hour.
Dude.
You got to
Yeah.
learn how to not die because when the semis go by you 75 miles an hour, your whole vehicle shakes on the road. And so
Yeah.
um, I was going to say that when you're able to strip away everything and
Mhm.
rely on survival, boy, your mental health
Yeah.
kicks in big time, man.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
start you
Yeah.
start understanding what's real and what's not. So I can
That's
imagine
so.
that's what I'm thinking about with you on the road.
Dude, exactly. Yeah, yeah. You're like starting to forget about a bill. Like your
Yeah.
car's broken on the freeway. You're like, I don't care about my credit card bill, man. Like I'm trying to get by. But it's actually another thing about the mental health thing that's actually so rad about, just going across the country or Route 66 is that, well, it forces you to meet all the people in the
Yeah.
nation, right? All the other normal people. And it's pretty easy to kind of get wrapped up, like I said, kind of in your own little cocoon for a bit of time. Same people, same beliefs all the time. So it's really cool just to walk into a store and just meet someone from a totally different walk of life, one that I've never lived before. And you chat with them, you're like, oh, wait, yeah, you're actually cool as it gets. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, I got a friend, I don't know, like when I was crossing the country, I got a friend in Florida now. I got a friend in Arkansas. I'm like, wow, I don't know. People are nicer than the media makes them out to be. And sometimes I feel like it takes going far to realize that.
When I grew up, you'd leave I would leave my door open for
Hmm.
2 weeks at a time. Like the only like this is a
Nice.
true story. Back when I
That's
was
pretty
in
sweet. The front
yeah,
door?
back when I was in my 20s, I bought my first house when I was 21.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, and in my 20s I traveled a lot. I was a magazine
Hmm.
publisher and I would travel like 42 weeks a year for a
Wow.
couple of years and then 34 weeks for a few years. And yeah, and
Hmm.
so there were times where I would actually, leave and I'd forget to lock the door because it just wasn't anything that we did. And
Yeah.
I remember one time I was gone for 2 weeks and I forgot to shut the door. So
No way.
the only
Yeah.
thing that prevented a robber from robbing my place was a
Hmm.
screen door. That's it. Was the screen door. That was it. And so I aired the house out, which was nice over 2 weeks. But
Yeah.
but I remember thinking, about 10 years ago that I don't even know if I would trust my neighbors anymore. Like if there was a
Yeah.
blackout or there was a zombie apocalypse or whatever
Oh
the case
yeah,
is,
man.
are they and my one neighbor who was my old roommate in college, he used to say to me, he goes, "Yeah, I call them helpers and eaters. They're either going to come help you or come eat you."
Me. Yeah,
I'm
that's
like, yeah,
it,
that's
man.
a pretty good way to put it. But getting back to the mental health side of things, the conversation was a huge part of it to where I was so looking forward to having conversations with strangers along the road to remind myself that humanity does exist still out there in the open road. And
Yeah.
you mentioned the word radical. Well, when I grew up, we had a word, we used radical a lot, but
Damn
awesome was the
yes.
word that we ushered in. So your generation ushered in the word amazing, and as much as we want to choke you for it,
You guys
we
didn't say
ushered in,
amazing?
well, I guess the millennials did. So it wasn't so
Yeah.
much you. Are you Gen Z or
Gen Z,
Gen
yeah.
Alpha? Okay. So Gen Millennials and Gen Y ushered in amazing and amaze balls and that kind of
Oh
stuff.
no.
And
Uh-oh.
so we, we got a little bit tired of it, but then we ushered in awesome, right? And so the word
For sure.
awesome, there's an actual scientific affiliation with the word awesome. It's called the awe effect or the awesome effect. And they use the Grand Canyon as one of their examples. They use
Mm.
Mount Shasta and other mountains as the example, which is when you stand in front of the Grand Canyon and look, when you stand up on a mountain peak and overlook, there's an
Oh yeah.
actual elevation of your different, biological effects that your body says, wow, this is awesome. Like it's
Yeah.
uplifting, and it does all these different things. And so that's the other aspect, is the getting in touch with nature again, the awesome
Well,
elements that really do exist along Route 66 and other areas too. Like, I could make the same argument for PCH1, California Pacific Coast.
yeah.
That's a beautiful drive too. But Route 66 does have that little bit of a magical appeal to it, to where you
100%.
can have very easy conversations along the road. And so as long as you
Mhm.
have a common interest, generally you can have a pretty good conversation with somebody, feel good about humanity, get on the
Yeah.
road and get going along. And so did you have
Yeah.
any issues with conversations? It seems like it was pretty
No.
free flow, man.
That's it. And that's the way I like to roll too. And you're probably the same way. It's like any conversation's cool. I mean, like even if I don't truly agree, I'm here to talk to you, man. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's like if I didn't want to talk, I keep my mouth shut. But if I'm talking to someone, I'm probably curious on what they're up to. So I'll
I
let anyone chat. It's
I
cool.
used to do a night show on the radio, and we were the lead into the conspiracy overnight show that would have the
Oh,
alien guys.
nice.
And so, in fact, a lot of the Joe Rogan guests I used to interview too.
Check that
Yeah,
out.
but it was because it was on at night and stuff, and people would always ask me like, "Guy, I heard that person you had on. They were pretty out there. How could you have them on?" I'm like, I don't know. They
Yeah.
wrote a book on it, and so they
Yeah.
knew what they were talking about. They were a nice person. They
There
weren't
you go.
trying to cause anybody harm. They were trying to educate on their research they did. I didn't
Yeah.
agree with them, but what are you going to do? I mean, the guy spent a year of his life researching
Yeah.
this. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna call him
Yeah.
an idiot and dismiss it in a second. Like, so I,
Exactly.
I I get what you're saying with the open mindedness, because to me that's what's really lost, is we're almost so triggered now, where we shut
Yeah.
off and dismiss people, when I'm like,
True.
hey, I
Let's
like
hear
to
something
enable
fun.
craziness. Let's enable the craziness out there.
Yeah, yeah, bring it, dude. Exactly. Like, how boring is a world where everyone says the same thing and thinks the same thing? That's not fun, man. I
That
want
totally
those
is.
the alien guys all over. I'll listen to those guys all day long. Or some guy just talks boring talk.
Oh, when I started seeing Joe Rogan was taking off, I'm going, okay, I
Mhm.
interviewed him, I interviewed him, I interviewed him, and I'm not
Yeah,
trying to say I was like the next Joe Rogan, no, because
yeah.
all Joe Rogan and I did was stuff that Art Bell and the overnight
Mhm.
show, George Norrie. It was a
There you
lot of
go.
the same guests that. Yeah, my only rule was I wouldn't bring the lizard people on. That was too much for my audience. I mean, we were still an award winning, news
Yeah.
station that, we would go out and,
Oh, I see. So like you kind of gotta have a line. Like there's like a
yeah, I
little
had to.
bit.
What I did was really, yeah. I mean, when you bring somebody on to talk about
Yep.
marijuana law, when they put you in
Mhm.
jail still, for that, and you bring
Mhm.
somebody on
Mhm.
to talk about some different declassified government, yeah, I'd stay away from a lot of the aliens, to be honest. That
Yeah.
that was a little bit too much, and so, but that was okay, because hey, tune in next hour. They're on next hour, so we were just
Yeah.
kind of the, and then I'd have local bands on too, and national
Oh, that's
bands.
sweet.
Yeah, it was actually pretty cool. They come on, they play before they play it live in studio, and then they'd go play at the
Nice.
bar that they were
Oh,
playing at. Yeah, and so it'd be like,
it's
all
a
right,
good
there's your.
show.
Well,
Yeah, you got it
my
all.
my rule of thumb was pretty easy. That if somebody can write a song, they're intelligent, and if
There you
somebody
go.
can get
Yeah.
up on stage and sing, they can perform. Wouldn't you
Yeah.
know it? The people in bands were better guests than marketing directors.
Oh my goodness, dude. Yeah, that's for sure.
These
Oh
people,
man.
not only did they know how to talk, but they actually could talk with some
Yeah.
substance and that
Yeah, they
kind of
bring
stuff.
it good. They got cool stories to go with it too, not just spreadsheets, you know?
So, what does your friends think about all this? Your contemporaries of the 25 to 30-year-olds.
Oh, you know what? The people I'm around they're pretty stoked, not gonna lie to you. I surround myself with some pretty rad people.
Wow, rad
Yeah,
and
everyone
stoked.
yeah,
Awesome.
stoked. Yeah, yeah, you gotta
Yeah.
gotta rip them.
God, I feel like I'm back in high school listening to you
Oh
talk
shoot,
here,
dude.
man. Oh, Stoke was a big,
Yeah.
we would always play Billy Squire's Stroke Me," because Stoke was such a big,
Yeah, stoke it
yeah,
up,
yeah.
dude. Well, welcome to Bill and Ted's, phone booth time machine, man. We're back.
Yeah,
We're
that's such
back
a
in
good
action.
movie. That's such a fantastic movie, Bill and Ted's. It holds up so well in my mind.
Excellent. Yeah, that's so good, dude.
So, are you planning any other Route 66 trips? I mean, are you going to do the whole thing? You've done
Mm,
probably, near half of it. It sounds like if you've done, New
yeah.
Mexico, Arizona, California areas or whatever. So,
Yeah, I would love to. It's just like one of those things where I gotta work out funds. If I was like you and I had kind of like a sweet mobile setup, but dude, I gotta figure out something with the Miata because that's not too comfortable. Like it's
yeah,
that was a fun adventure, but I think about doing that again. Like, no, I need a van. Like a van would be sweet, but it's hard just to find vans. I gotta catch some work for a bit. Then we'll get back after it. But man, no, I love nothing more than just exploring on the road. I love that so much more than flying. Just actually seeing I don't know, like I said, I'm a nature fanatic and I love seeing the way that people interact with the environment. So it's way cool. Speaking of nature,
yeah.
those desert sunsets are to die for. And if any of your listeners have not seen a desert sunset, I highly recommend it. Just so beautiful. The way you can just look over that long, distant horizon, almost nothing obstructing it, just out to some mountains about 200 miles away, and just everything's orange. The ground's orange, the sky's orange, and oh
Mm-hmm.
man, that stuff is great. I cannot wait to see another one of those, whether it's on 66 or just right out here in Nevada, close to home. Love them.
Yeah, Lady Gaga knew what she was talking about when she
Yeah.
said Arizona skies. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Desert sun when she was at it was one of the Shallow songs. I can't remember which one it was, but it's a great tune and a great song, and I know exactly what you're talking about. I spent some time in Arizona when I was getting some road repair stuff done, some
There
vehicle
you go.
repair done, and yeah, that was my nightly
That's it.
anticipation was looking at those colors in the sky, even and the sun rises too, or even
Yes, sir.
yeah, those are
Yeah.
even nice too. Well, that's cool. Did you have any other highlights from the trip that you want? Either roadside stops or anything like that?
Yeah, you know what? It was a rugged trip. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'd say one of the funnier things I did, and I'll tell you, I won't tell you my triumphs. I'll tell you the funny moments. Um, so with this car, the Miata, I knew that the one thing that would take me out from the journey would be if the alternator belt snapped, because then you lose alternator, you lose cooling, car's dunzos. So the one spare part I brought on the whole trip is the alternator belt. Anyways, one night I'm driving out, trying to make it out to Mardi Gras. So I'm out in Louisiana, and I hear a loud squeaking, and then bah, boom, alternator belt snaps. And I pull over on the side of the freeway. I'm like, dang, what's going on? I found out that the bolt that held the alternator to the car itself had actually fallen out, completely fallen out of the car. So
Wow.
I took that spare alternator belt and I jerry rigged it onto the car by using an incorrect bolt. And I limped it along the highway for 10 miles. And I made a rule, no hotels allowed. So I was in this town. Apparently, the crime rate was 4 times higher than the average in Louisiana. And I went, pulled up to the Napa Auto Parts, and just pitched a tent in their parking lot and just slept in Napa Auto Parts. So I'd say that's probably the craziest moment where I was like, yo, this is not where I expected to be tonight, but we're gonna make it through this, man. And we did. And I loved it. I woke up, the shop owner's name was Debbie. Debbie was the sweetest. I'd never met anyone from the South before. And we sat there talking for 15 minutes before she even gave me my auto part because it's just the Southern hospitality. So it was one of those nights where I was stressed beyond belief. And I woke up, Mardi Gras day. Debbie was great. The town was great. And I don't know. I like when things get a little rough. I think that's what makes things exciting. So
So
that
then
was a
you
funny night.
so then you came and hooked up with Route 66 in Texas, Oklahoma, then right in that area. Then I would imagine.
Exactly. So I was on my way home. So I ran the 10. When I went
Oh,
out to Florida, I did the 10 all the way out east. I took the
yeah.
lower route to see the southern states, and then I went up to Tennessee and then started going boom, beelining kind of on the 40.
Okay.
Exactly. Hit it around like the Oklahoma, Texas kind of range right there. And then I really started to dive into once I realized what I was, the gold mine I was on
Are you telling
wasn't.
me that when you went through Amarillo, right?
Yeah, yeah, sure
And you
did.
didn't, okay, so like
That's the funny
Shamrock,
thing.
Texas, and like there's these small towns that just like all of a sudden have like cars sticking out of the ground and stuff like that. It's
Dude, no. So I was it's crazy because I skipped a lot. I had another car issue in Little Rock, Arkansas that
okay.
almost took the car out of the trip. The fuel injectors were having this issue. And again, I went to Napa Auto Parts and I found a part that worked, but didn't really. So the car would actually misfire. If I didn't keep the car revving, it would just die. So I was like, I have to go at 2,000 miles home because I was being stingy. And new injector is $100 a piece. I've done four of
Ugh.
them. Said no way because I knew I could fix it if I just got home. So, so I after that point, after Little Rock, Arkansas, I just blitzed through the next at least 500, 700 miles. And then it started kind of like working a little bit better. And then I just knew from anticipation, I was like, okay, we're back in the desert. And I just love being back out in the desert, like towards Arizona, New Mexico.
Hmm.
Then I started taking I lifted my head up at that point. I was like, oh, wait, okay, we're somewhere cool. Because like you said, like out in Amarillo and like all those spots, I was literally just head down, like, I have to get home. I have to get home. I have to get home. And then after I realized the car was working, I said, okay, wait, I can enjoy this again. And that realization hit when I was getting into New Mexico again.
Yeah, I've done
So,
that up in the
yeah.
Wyoming areas and some of the
Oh
switchback
yeah.
mountain areas where you're white knuckling it and you
Yeah.
can't even see what's going on next to you because
Really?
you're trying to live. Yeah, I've been there before.
Yeah.
Actually, I felt like that in Chicago. Like
Hmm.
Chicago was the worst traffic I've ever had in my life until I went to Houston.
Oh
And
goodness.
yeah, Houston was worse than Chicago, and I didn't think I'd ever do. And I know this because when I was in Chicago, I'm
Hmm.
driving, and at this time I think I had a Mitsubishi Diamante, like a four-door Lexus like car,
Yeah, man.
and nice car, great
Yeah.
on the road, this and that. Well, in Chicago, you're in 5, 6 lanes of interstate traffic,
Mm.
and you're going
Yeah.
in and out of tunnels that are
Hmm.
just going under roads and things like that. And
Hmm.
because it's one of the distribution capitals of the world, uh,
Hmm.
there's semis everywhere. And
It's
so
true.
there's times where you're driving 75 miles an hour down the interstate and you've got a semi in front of you, a semi on each
Yeah.
side of you, and then a semi in back of you. And you
Wow.
realize you have absolutely no control in this world anymore. That
No,
if any one
no.
of these semi drivers decides that they want to go on their cell phone, well, you're dead. If any of these guys
Yeah.
has a mosquito or a fly bite or a gnat bite, you're dead. You
You're
know what
toast.
I mean? And then
Exactly.
and then when I got down to Houston, because I was in Chicago and I just went, oh, this is the worst traffic of my life. And then
Hmm.
when I got to Houston, I literally left at 4 in the morning because I wanted to get away from
Goodness.
all of that city traffic. By 7
Yeah.
a.m., I was still bumper to bumper semi traffic. And I'm just like, okay, this is worse than Chicago. Officially, we have a new worst traffic than
Found it.
Chicago. Well, I respect the semis, man. I wish they had their own
Oh yeah.
highway. I wish,
Same here.
they,
Same
they got
here.
places to go and God bless them for it. I don't want to be in their way, but at the same time, get out of my way. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it's like you need a truce. Everyone needs to come together and be like, all right, this is you. Like, all right,
Yeah.
you guys do this, we do this, we stay in our own lane. Because it's funny, I would always feel bad because the truckers, they're so good with the passing lane on the left, slower traffic on the right. And sometimes normal pedestrian drivers don't do that at all. So
No.
I feel so bad. I know they're just trying to get their next 2,000 miles of driving in. You see pedestrian vehicles just blocking them. You're like, you guys, come on. These guys do this for a living. You got to give them a break here, dude. Let them through. Let them
Some
through.
people got to understand it's the passing lane, not the pacing lane. You're not
Yeah,
supposed to pace
yeah.
next to them. You're supposed to pass. Yeah,
Now that's
it's
Californians. Ooh.
well, I sure hope you can get out and make the Tulsa
That'd be
deal, and
sweet.
maybe even go and bring a few friends to try to break that deal. And especially now that I know it's like 95 and below
Oh
cars. I
yeah.
mean, man, that's
That's not even bad.
just
Everyone
pull
can
in
get
there
out
with my
now.
my 1989 Chevelle, just
Oh, you got a Chevelle?
no, I'm just kidding. Like
Oh,
just
dude,
some
that'd be
some
sweet.
random classic car that's not really a classic car, but it's from the
Yeah.
late 80s or something like that. I was
Yep,
gonna
yep.
find a 1979 Gremlin and see if I can't drive around there. Yeah, that's
Old AMC, dude. Those things
get
are
some weird
sick.
car like that. Totally, man. My neighbor is a classic car collector, and he's
Oh,
got
sick.
some three-wheel cars that were made in the 70s where they have like, they made like 20 of them type of a thing, and he's got
Wow.
them. And yeah, just some weird stuff. But well, I appreciate the time today, and keep in
Yeah.
touch and let us know if you got any Route 66 stuff going or anything along those lines. Any final thoughts that you want people to know? Anywhere you want people to go with their social media following or anything like that?
Yeah, man. I'll keep it quick. Check me out. My name is Mellow Connor on YouTube. I make car adventure videos. But more importantly, what I'd like the people to know is we got a good world out there, and I hope they get a chance to go see it because it's a world worth seeing. So, and Jason, I'll say too, I hope you enjoy your 75-day trip. That's gonna be awesome. It's
Well,
gonna
I
be so awesome
appreciate
here.
that. Where are
Yeah.
you on YouTube?
Yeah, yep, it's YouTube. I'm on Instagram, but usually just YouTube. Yeah,
Oh,
YouTube.
Instagram's fine. I tell you what,
Yeah.
send me the links, and we'll put the links down below so that people
Cool.
can just link right to them and follow them and this and that. And
Awesome.
yeah, and I'm gonna be in Gallup, New Mexico on I think it's the 23rd or the 20. It's that last weekend in July for
Okay.
there's a hot air balloon and classic car event we're gonna be
Oh,
broadcasting from.
nice.
Oh, you'll love this. In fact, you should come on out if you can make it to this. It's called Route 66 Rides.
Hmm.
And on the final day of the event, they take all the hot air balloons, line them up down Main Street,
Oh,
drive the cars
yeah.
down Main Street, and then shoot the fire as the cars drive down. So it's a
Dude, that's
tunnel of
sick.
fire. And yeah, if you want to join me for a day on the route, man, we'd love to have you as a co-host and saddle up next to me in one of those
Wow.
towns. That'd be fun. You got some good energy. It'd be nice to have some different perspective because, uh, you know, I was telling this someone the other day, literally we are living in different worlds because I grew up pre-internet. Like
Oh, 100%.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I grew up before the internet was even around. You, I don't even know if you grew up before AI. Like you might have like
Yeah.
a year or two without some kind of AI, but
Yeah.
probably not. And so
Mm-mm.
trying to imagine how, somebody is thinking on a regular basis, pre-internet, pre-AI versus somebody that's never even had a thought like that. That's hard to
Yeah.
talk nowadays. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
my
Because
goodness. Yeah,
our
you're
worlds are
right.
literally so different. That's
Yeah. Another
yeah.
10
So
years, man. We're gonna be in for it.
oh, totally. It's it. But well, I appreciate it, and we'll talk down the line. Okay.
Right on, dude. Yeah, yeah, this is a great time, Jason. Thank you very much for bringing me out here.